Good morning, everybody. Nice to be here. Can everybody hear okay?
Yep.
Great. Yes. Okay. Next slide, please. The Creating Homes Initiative, we refer to as CHI, was created in response to the lack of decent, safe, and affordable housing for people with mental illness in the state of Tennessee. The CHI program is a proven model of strategic collaborations, and we work together with all the partners in each region to create and preserve our permanent housing, because we all know there is a shortage of affordable housing in the state of Tennessee. Next slide, please. And our humble beginnings go back to February of 2000, and as you can see, Commissioner Rukeyser established the Office of Housing and Planning, and Marie Williams, our current commissioner, was appointed as this director. In August of 2000, she kicked off with 3 regional housing facilitators, and they had a budget of $2.5 million of seed money in the state. Next slide, please. As well as another $2 million commitment from THDA. As the year went on, we were able to solidify relationships with HUD. We were able to announce different funding announcements, work with legal issues with the NIMBY, and have media coverage to let people know about the Creating Homes initiative. Next slide, please. And we always like to set goals for ourselves. And our first goal was to create 2,005 units of housing by the year of 2005. And so when we met that goal, we then expanded our goal to create 4,010 units of affordable housing by 2005. And these units were created with help through the Federal Home Loan Bank and through our local continuum of cares. The regional housing facilitators have spent hours working with the continuums. Some had to start from the very beginning. Some were able to join in with the continuums where they were. But a lot of the facilitators did have to bring these continuing cares from the grass up. Next slide, please.
Jeannie, before you turn to that next slide, I want everybody to look at Commissioner Williams in her royal purple sweater and her tiara. I just think that speaks a lot to the energy she brings to the program and to the department. So sorry for interrupting.
No, that's great, because it's very contagious. It's always good for us to go to Nashville and hear her speak, because this is her baby, and she gives us a lot of inspiration and, like you said, energy to continue and to look for various partners that we need, to make this program successful. But anyway, we just looked at the program in 2004 to see, what could we do to enhance the program. And Commissioner Williams wanted us to branch out into different areas and look at the support and employment, transportation, and housing. And so for about 3 years, we became SES facilitators, and we weren't just about housing. But then after about 3 years, we went back to just being regional housing facilitators. Next slide, please. And I got to say, it was easier to focus on one task instead of the 4. As regional housing facilitators, we like to meet and get together. The picture you see here was a training that we had in Kingsport in November of 2018. We actually spent 3 days in that tiny room, just kind of planning what we wanted to do for the future, strategizing together, learning what to do, and then finding out who are the partners in each region. What grants were available, what could we do as regional housing facilitators to help people to write these grants, what collaborations did they need to put a project together. So hopefully we'll be able to meet again soon. Like I said, we haven't been able to meet in person either, so we've been doing a lot of Zoom calls. Next slide, please. This map is a map that should kind of go, I think it goes along with the Regional Planning Council as well. And this is the layout of each region that has a facilitator. And if you go to the next slide, you can see that since the beginning of 2000, we've been able to create 22,900 units of affordable housing. And with that, we have leveraged $694 into the state of Tennessee. Okay, next slide, please. And this is how it's been done throughout the different regions. And again, to leverage projects, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a future slide. So next slide, please. These are the funding partners that we have worked with. We are able to add to this list as time goes on. Thank goodness people are willing to want to participate and do what they can do to create permanent housing for people with mental illness. Next slide, please. Okay, these are some more of our partners. Next slide. And this is what I want to talk to you about, a little bit about a collaboration. If you see this apartment building on the right, this was an old apartment building in Bulls Gap, Tennessee. And the railroad, there's a historical railroad right there by this apartment. And this organization wanted money to do some work on the museum there in Bulls Gap. And so they were trying to figure out a way that they could bring money in to do work on this museum and at the same time be an asset to their community. So we were able to pull partners together, and we converted this old building into 8 two-bedroom apartments for folks that were homeless with mental illness. And this unit is up running today. And the partners that we had in this building, you can see it's Clinch Powell and then the First Tennessee Development District, along with Kingsport Housing Authority and Frontier Health. The nice thing that with this housing authority, they gave us 8 two-bedroom vouchers for this project and said, here, we'll give you 8 more for another project. So we were able to take that and do another project-based project, which worked out very nicely for our clients. Next slide. And this slide shows how we could collaborate for home ownership for our clients. And this is an example of a habitat cost that the house was valued at about $80,000. They had $65,000 in the actual building. And we were able to get grants from THDA, from Federal Home Loan Bank, through 2 of their programs. And in the end, we were able to get a mortgage for the client for $27,501. And so Habitat had grants at that time at 0%, and our client paid $78 a month for a house payment. I know we worked with Ginger early on in Greenville with a client, and his program was set up kind of like this too, right, Ginger?
Yeah, and honestly, that's still one of the most rewarding things I've done in my career is to help someone get into home ownership. It's just an amazing feeling.
It is. We had a client in Johnson City actually had been homeless for about 9 years, and when I first started this job, one of the outreach coordinators at the VA system asked me if I could help him and to get into housing. That he had been on, even though he'd been on the streets for all these years, Dennis had been able to get him into an apartment. And he said the veteran kept saying, I want to go into my own home, and is that something I can do? And I had just started this job, and Dennis says, Jeannie, can you help him? I said, I know I can, but I don't know how, but I'm going to figure it out. Well, long story short, this little gentleman, I met with him, and he said, I lost everything in Vietnam War. He said, all I ever wanted was a family and my own home. And he said, I'll never have my family, but is it too late for me to have my own home? And we were able to put a package together like this for him, and he has created a huge family around him in his 2-bedroom home. He does all the honeydews up and down the street for the people that can't do work, and he has a 2-bedroom home, and he always has a veteran in that extra room until they can get into an apartment or home ownership. So it is very, very rewarding. Next slide, please. Now we have expanded to CHI 2.0. We have 6 facilitators with the CHI 1 working for permanent housing for clients with mental illness, and now we have expanded to have a team of 7 facilitators that are now working on recovery housing. We were able to get $3 million to the department for this program to hire these 7 facilitators. Next slide, please. And THDA came through with it again, gave us a $3 million match, and we were able to submit grants to THDA. We had 5 awardees they're going to create 74 units in the future of housing for people in recovery. Really excited about kicking this off and getting this off the ground and running and working with different agencies. Next slide, please. And here's an example of goal when you start working with clients, working with CHODOs, working with your housing authorities about looking at your goal. You know, make sure your goal is SMART, that your goal is specific, it's measurable, achievable, relevant, and time specific. If you have a project and you want to create 1,000 units, maybe you can't do 1,000 at one time. You know, maybe you're going to have to work in creating 10 at a time. So that's something that the facilitators are able to do in working with the partner, sitting down and just hashing all this out. And if you need to adjust your goal at that time, you can. Next slide, please. For us to be successful, it's all about relationships. And if you can put a team of people together to work on a project, then you have a lot more people that are buying into the programs, and you're more oftentimes you are successful because you can leverage and match all this collaboration into your projects when you submit for a grant. Next slide, please. So when we look at grants, we just have to keep in mind that each grant is different. There's different regulations, different rules, and so that's something that facilitators are able to do as well, is to look at the NOFA and see, does this agency even, are they even eligible to apply for this grant, and take it from there. Next slide, please. And we also, in 4 of the regions, we have consumer housing specialists. These were created back in the very beginning. We don't have one in Region 1. There's not one in Region 2, but there are, I think, 3 or 4 throughout the state. And they really work well with the facilitators. They help with the SOAR program. They help try to connect some of the clients with the available housing that we have. Next slide, please. And so we're starting to move forward now. We hired our 7th facilitator yesterday, and so we're starting with our training and learning the CHI model and applying what we did with CHI 1 into CHI 2. And the new facilitators will be identifying the needs and just looking at their region strategically and what they can do to assist in permanent housing. Next slide, please. And this is one of Marie's favorite sayings. It's very, I think, fitting for what we do. It's never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has, by Margaret Mead. Next slide, please. If you have any questions, anything I can do to help you, to connect you with the facilitators in your region, please just drop me an email. If you all know Nehru, if you have any questions for him, please, more than willing to talk to you as well. So does anybody have any questions or anything I can help you with this morning?
This is Mary Linden. This may be a long-term question, but I'm wondering, with their new experience in dealing with programs as well as individuals with substance use disorder diagnoses and backgrounds, if you've developed some new, shall we say, creative opportunities to deal with criminal background histories, some of the legal implications that many of those with substance use backgrounds often have. Are there funders who are very open to that? Are there new avenues for application, for example?
Well, what I have found with Chi One, we're working with the actual agencies that are building. That we're working the brick and mortar people, building units from the ground up. We have, I don't know if this answers your question completely, but in our region, we have various landlords that will work with clients with, a criminal background. Now, when you get into some of the federal programs, some of the programs we can, and some of the programs we cannot. Our programs through the continuum of care, the supportive housing programs there, they do work with us with folks that have criminal records, and they look at each person individually. But I'm hoping as time goes on that some of these more and more of these grants will be looking, at that differently.
I'm wondering if we can work with the folks in the SHE program generally to develop some data or some talking points about that to help encourage new lenders and landlords to do just that.
I'm sure Nehru and I'd be happy to do that.
That sounds like a good thing to mull over in the next little while. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Well, if anybody else thinks of anything, please feel free to jot me an email. And I appreciate your time and really enjoy doing the job. And I think most of the facilitators are enjoying this work as well. We're a little harder right now when you have new facilitators needing to get out to meet people. They're, of course, working through this modern technology. And so it's a little different, I think, than putting your actual eyes on people, but we'll get there, hopefully soon.
Hey, Jeannie, it's Ginger. Sorry to put you on the spot. Could you tell everybody's name, the new Chi 2 facilitators, just so we could recognize their names if we hear or see anything from them?
Sure. You should put me on the spot. Yes, I'm happy to, Ginger. In Region 1, Wendy Ramsey is in Region 1. In Region 2, Amanda Millsap. Amanda is on the line. Do you want to say hello, Amanda?
Hey, everybody. How are you? I'm listening.
Okay, great. In Region 3, we have Patricia Cunningham. Region 4, we just hired Jacob. Cannot think Jacob's last name. He starts today. In Region 5, we have Greg Keeling, Keeling. In Region 6, we have Jason, and I'll have to spell his last name. P as in Paul, Ostlewait. And then in Region 7, we have Aaron Gillihan.
Thanks. That'll maybe help us recognize some names.
Okay.
Yeah.
And everybody's new. I think the first facilitator was hired the last of March. And so the hiring's been from the last of March until, like I said, the last one started yesterday.
In the middle of a pandemic.
Yes.
Yes. So interesting training curve for folks that are having to build relationships that you referred to being so important, such an important piece of their work. I know Wendy from Region 1's been reaching out with telephone calls and that sort of thing, which is not as good as the handshake and personal space, but it's what got to do what you got to do right now.
That's right.
Yeah. Any other questions for Jeannie, guys? Okay. Jeannie, thank you and your statewide team so very much.
Thank you.
And please thank Nehru for all he does as well to support you guys. We'll be looking forward to lots of new housing opportunities to be created in our communities. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.